Hey y'all, welcome to the Coyote Trapping School Podcast. In this episode, I interview Steve Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. You can follow him on Instagram at Steve_Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. He's an Alabama trapper and outdoorsman that if you just scroll through his Instagram, you'll see why I wanted to interview him. Because he absolutely hammers the coyotes all year round. He doesn't trap necessarily all the time, all year, but he keeps a trap line going pretty consistently and through the summer too. And so we talked about some summertime coyote trap tactics and just some general coyote trapping tactics and things. Steve hadn't been trapping a long time, but he's got something figured out because he's got the results to prove it. So I think you'll pick up something that'll be useful for use on your trap line. I know I sure did. So hope you enjoy and stay tuned. Thanks for watching and listening. And just as an aside, I'm still working through some of my audio and recording strategies for these calls and interview calls like I'm doing. So just bear with me. There's a little bit of static and a little bit of kind of feedback, but overall I think the interview quality is pretty good, and what you'll get out of the interview is worth bearing through the any audio and technical difficulties we had. So enjoy and thanks. Today we got Steve Wright on the phone, and Steve, you are an Alabama trapper. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
I'm just a good old Alabama redneck, I guess you say, and addicted to trapping. Got into coyote trapping a few years back, and realized that's what I was born to do.
I heard that. So you got into trapping pretty recently then?
Yeah, that's right. About 3 years ago. Next month will be 3 years ago.
So how did you kind of get into it and learn the ropes?
Well, what got this thing started was we were trying to raise watermelons, and we couldn't even get a watermelon. Coyotes were biting them, breaking them off the vine. We could not get a single watermelon, and it just got to the point where put a few cameras out, started getting so many pictures, and realized, that something had to be done. And so I got in touch with a trapper from Pennsylvania, and didn't know anything about it, and started asking questions. And he was super nice enough to send me pictures, videos of how he got, how he set up, how he did things. And so I bought a few traps, got started in, I think, July. It was a summer, and I just was expecting the night I set them to catch something. Didn't know anything about it. He told me, he said, "Man, you got to be patient. Be patient." So I think it was 12 or 13 days ended up going by. I finally caught one, and that just pretty well lit the fire. And been on them pretty much year round since then here at the house, and really put a dent in them. And so now we have watermelons.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've actually got in touch with you through following you on Instagram, and your Instagram, if you just take a look on it and scroll back, there's a pile of dead coyotes that are accounted for. That's pretty interesting.
Well, we have, I don't know, we kind of joke. There's a couple of friends that live around here by me that trap too. It's kind of a joke that maybe the counties, the county that I live in, and a couple of surrounding counties might be the most densely coyote populated counties in the state. And I somewhat believe that we've got so, it's just, it's unreal. You don't realize it until you start setting traps and realize just how many's out there.
So is that primarily, that's all you target, that's all you trap for is catch coyotes?
90%. Yeah. I still gotta try and do some work for herds, and during the off season now, here in Alabama, we've got year-round trapping possums, came to coyotes. And so I personally, during this time of year in the off season, I'll kind of concentrate on coons and possums and smaller stuff, and hopefully try and keep those out of the coyote traps come prime coyote season.
Right.
But yeah, and want to get into water trapping. Got a couple of friends that are having some problems with beavers and muskrats and stuff. I haven't done that much. So I really want to get into that. But coyotes, that's by far, I think, will always be my number one. That just does it for me.
I understand. I get it. So do you have a preferred time, like your favorite time of the year to trap coyotes, or just as long as you're trapping, you're good?
Yeah, as long as I'm trapping, I'm good. But I've definitely noticed. I would say February and March, at least here in North Alabama, is by far and away the best time. Seems to be around here anyway. December, January seems like the first more prime, obviously, then. But I don't know. It just seems like February, deer season here in Alabama closes February the 10th.
Yeah.
So on several properties, I have to wait till deer season's over.
Right.
And kind of limits, the regular trapping season, bobcats and foxes and everything ends last day of February. So you've only got a couple weeks, and I try and really hit everything hard that last half of February, and March and even April. It's still you can wear them out even then. I'm not so sure. That's not. If I had to pick a month, I think I would say March. Quite honestly.
Yeah. So do you do anything with your fur or the coyotes? Is there a live market in Alabama?
There's not a live market in Alabama. No,
Okay.
I wish it was, but not at this time. Yeah, I have got a freezer full of I still got to deal with this past season. I mean, I've got a bunch of them. Just hadn't got to them yet. I'm actually taking a break right now. Still recovering. I tried harder this year than I ever have, all the way through April, pretty much. But I still got that to do.
So what do you do with it? Do you have it tanned? Do you sell it?
Yeah, I do have it tan. I have not sold any up to this point in time. I've had some tan for here around the house, and all, but I haven't sold any of mine yet. I've got a bunch of them to get done in the like I said, in the freezer.
Yeah.
Still to go.
I know that feeling. So what I noticed you do a pretty good bit of, like you said, coyote trapping year round and during the summertime, and that tends to be a time that gives a lot of people some kind of a run for their money trying to catch coyotes. What have you noticed that's different or makes you successful in the summertime versus wintertime trapping?
Yeah, there's definitely a taper off, for sure. Um, I have, in my short amount of time that I've been trapping, I primarily just stick with bait. Don't even use lure, hardly at all. I go with a lot more natural stuff. Um, I'll tend to use, we've talked about, and you talked about, I think, in one of your podcasts, the chicken livers.
Yeah.
If it is legal here in Alabama, to use animal parts. I know not every state allows that, but I'll if I kill a deer, there is not a single part of that deer that goes unused. I'll use everything off of it for trapping coyotes.
Yeah.
Chunk of fur or hide, um, anything that I can save, chunk of meat trimmings, uh, anything like that. I tend to use those a lot more in the summer and just back off. And I have a lot of luck with Hallbaker's 500 in the summertime. with just a little bit of bait and just maybe a little bit of lure if I use any, and pretty much just natural stuff, chicken feathers, that type thing, and just kind of back way off. Use the cameras more then, seems like, to find out which trails are running, here on my property. Kind of try and narrow it down, and then come in and just pretty much stick a trap right in their face.
Right.
And know that they're already running there. But I prefer that more natural type stuff. It just seems to do better.
Yeah.
Anything, squirrel tails or just anything with a natural smell just seems to do a little bit better. I have caught them, on the commercial baits, but I love the natural stuff. I save everything of that I can, and use that a lot during the summer.
So you just keep it frozen and then use it kind of fresh?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I'll go ahead while it's fresh when if I'm processing a deer, and when I'm done with it, I'll go ahead and take what's left and work that up, cut up a couple of 3 or 4 gallon Ziploc bags, of scraps. Go ahead and chunk them up in maybe 1 inch chunks, and freeze everything. And then I try and get on a coyote. Middle of summer, I'll take a little hatchet or something, and chop it up, and works really good. Like I said, I save everything when it comes to deer parts.
So
That flat out works on the yotes.
what do you do about ants? That's everybody's big question about summertime. What do you do about ants?
Yeah, that is the number one problem. Uh, but that's why I like the free bait, I guess,
Right.
so to speak. You're not spending very much, money at all when you're doing that. But to be honest with you, I'll throw some down and watch it, and you're gonna have to put some out every day, pretty much. Uh, Bottom line,
Yeah.
and that's. But here at the house, just got a fairly small property, so not hard to do. If you got a gallon Ziploc bag of meat, you can freshen it up with just a couple chunks. That's all it takes, and so not a whole lot you can really do about it. That's what I do.
Right. Do you use? Do you tend to use more at a time at the time during the summer? Or I guess how much bait, especially when you're using that natural bait, how much are you using? When you're making your set and you're putting something down the hole, how much do you use?
Uh, I I do. If I, my my typical dirt hole is usually about 8 inches deep, and I'll pretty well fill that up uh, to begin with.
Yeah.
It'll take the ants a little while to really get to that, and
Right.
and and also one thing that I like to do, not only the ants will eat that meat up, but I save the hide and I'll chunk it up too. And so you can pack deer meat and then a chunk of hide, deer meat and a chunk of hide, kind of pack that all in there, and the hide will last a good bit longer. Still have that deer smell,
Right.
because obviously you're just wanting to get that nose in that hole, you
Yeah.
know. And if you do that, if he puts it in there, chances are you've already caught him.
Right.
And then I like to take several chunks of deer hide and place around the trap or out in front of him. Just get that deer smell.
Yep.
And usually, if you do that, that's good for several days. Usually long enough to catch one if you've got one targeted, or got one using a certain trail or whatever. So don't really have to use too much, but to begin with, when I first get started, I do. I'll pack that hole full of hide and deer meat both.
That's interesting. Both of those things you're talking about. I've just finished Craig O'Gorman's book, and one of the things he talks about, one of the some of the old school trappers, I guess, like in the early 1900s, that were trapping
Mm-hmm.
coyotes and things, kind of their go-to set before the dirt hole really became popular was a staked hide, or either a stake, like a whole staked groundhog or a gopher or something like that,
Hmm.
or just a staked hide set. Take a skunk hide and stake it and then
Yeah,
set your trap. Uh,
yeah,
which is that's something that I'm gonna give a try this season for sure. But then also he said another thing which I kind of took it with a little bit of grain of salt because he sells bait and lure, but he talks about the idea that coyotes can smell the quantity of bait that you've got, and so I never thought about it like that, but it kind of makes sense that if you got just a teaspoonful of bait down the hole,
yeah,
and they might rather keep on going to find a dead deer or a rabbit or something that's really going to sustain them,
yeah.
and that's something that intrigued me that I never had thought about before.
Well, I actually watched that podcast last night. Found that very interesting,
Yeah,
and I tend to agree with that. I really do. Um, in that same podcast, you were talking about having I think the fox walking by the set, not paying attention. Um, it depends on a lot if he's hungry or not.
yep,
This time of year, obviously, some of them may have just eaten a rabbit or a field rat or whatever, just not be interested.
right,
And that's another thing that I love doing, and I know you do too, using the cameras to kind of watch them. See how they react, and you can kind of tell if one just flies by it if he's just not interested.
yep,
Not a whole lot you can do, but I think I agree with that. You know, um, get a sense of how much is down in there, and I always throw a couple extra pieces out in front of that trap.
yep.
If I'm right off a trail, I'll drop it in the trail on the other side. Just kind of try and get in their face, and that's worked pretty well for me, especially on some that has been kind of shy, real wary. You'll see them kind of scooting by on camera.
Yep.
Really won't pay attention. I've done that several times. I have noticed that works good. I tend to do that anyway on any property. After about 7 to 10 days, you start noticing tracks where they're scooting your sets, and they've gotten used to them.
Yep.
And I'll just immediately stop right then with the baits and lures, whatever I'm using for the most part, and start packing those holes with deer meat, frozen deer liver, deer heart, anything with that smell, some hide. And several times I've done that very night. Boom, get him.
Huh.
Switching over to that natural stuff, they just deer and chicken.
Yep.
They just cannot resist it.
Yep. Now, I know a guy in South Georgia that traps, and that's his go-to. He's got access, and he likes putting a whole chicken in a hole.
I do too,
Yep.
brother. I do too. One of my favorite sets here at the house that works on these coyotes that I stay after. That they're some of the smartest and wariest, I think. They smell your sets constantly. I can't get one to work a normal dirt hole around here for nothing.
Huh.
But you set what I call is like a brush pile set,
Yep.
and push that chicken or that deer hide, up in there. Not quite a cubby set like you would for cats, but kind of just pushing the border, will he go in there or not? And
Right.
in January and February when they're probably at their highest, that works fantastic here at the house. I'll take a whole chicken and stake it down to the ground, and then put one or two traps out in front of it, blocking, or he's only got one way to it. And I'm like, you're either not getting the chicken, or if you are, you're gonna get caught. And
Right.
most of the time, you're gonna have him yanking on that chain.
Huh. So talking about trail cameras, I noticed in some of the pictures you post on Instagram, you running cuttybacks. Is that primarily what you like?
I do like those a lot, but I'm also a big fan of the Browning trail cams too.
Okay.
Their video is awesome. Uh, I wouldn't hesitate to buy either one of them. When it comes to video, uh, watching traps and all, I'm a huge fan of the Browning trail cams.
Have you got any Brownings that run more than 30 or 20-second night videos?
Uh, I don't. I pretty well. The one I do have is supposed to keep running longer on bigger game,
Yeah.
but so far everything's been pretty well stopping at 20 and 30 seconds.
Right.
Uh, I would love to do that, but I don't. I sure don't.
That's been my hang up. I've talked about it a bunch of times, but trying to find a good trail camera that'll run more than, run like a minute, up to a minute night
Yeah,
vision.
yeah, yeah. Because a lot of times, they'll stand there and they'll skirt and they'll kind of come around and they're studying and trying to decide if they want, to commit. And next thing you know, it's cutting off, and you
Yeah.
don't know. You really don't know what happened, unless you
Right.
catch him. Obviously, he's just there the next morning.
Yeah, 30 seconds
Uh,
is just starting to get good.
yeah, that's right. It really is.
What about what about your trap setup and all? So it looked like here recently you started running the K9 Extreme traps.
Yes, I absolutely love that trap.
Yeah,
That my catch rate jumped when I started using those.
really.
No doubt, they most certainly did. I am a huge fan of those traps. Um, just the way they set, pan sets below the jaw level. Uh, if he huge pan, if he touches that pan, he's already half caught. I don't. I honestly, I can think of maybe one miss that I've had. You just don't have misses with him. I mean, because if he touches that pan even with a toe, he's already down in there. I just can't say enough good about those traps. I love
Hmm. I've heard over the last couple of years. I've heard a lot of good stuff about those. I
them.
hadn't got a which we with the Georgia trap size restriction. We'd have to go with the junior.
Yeah,
The standard is bigger than our trap allowance,
right,
but
right. Yeah, we have a 6 inch inside spread limit here, which the extreme fits. That's what it is. You can add some inside lamination to kind of, come in and get that, to make sure, obviously, that you're legal. But, I know you're a huge fan of the MB550, and I am too. That's another good, solid trap that you can always count on, well built. And if I have, if I think I even have a chance of catching, a domestic dog or cat or anything like that, I always go with those.
yeah.
A little bit smaller diameter. But I love those traps as well.
So do you run any of your MB all the K9s extremes are 4 coil, right?
No, I use all two coil.
Okay, do you?
Yeah, I do have a four coil, and I do run it too, but all the rest of mine are two coil. I just run two coil on everything.
Okay. That's what I get questions about that. And for us not needing to break through frozen ground or anything like that, I don't really see the 4 coil
Right.
as a whole lot more
That's
advantage. So
that's right. That's the southeastern. Living in the south, we really don't have that.
yep.
What maybe 1 week a year, and I probably do things differently than most other trappers anyway. I don't even cover my traps with dirt, so I'm not even concerned even in the frozen weather. That may sound odd, but I cover everything with peat moss, heavy dose of peat moss, and then that's it. Blend it and walk away, and that has worked excellent for me. So I'm not really even concerned about subfreezing temps too much on mine.
Huh. So do you try to pack the peat moss in around your trap, or you just kind of just
No, I
normal
sure don't.
bedding?
No, when I bed it, I'll bed the levers and the jaws, just as tight as I can get it, you know, where they can't move. That's just trapping 101, I guess you say. But and I'll fill in inside around the pan, you know, as best I can, and up to the pan, I'll pack inside there as best I can, and then I don't cover it. I always carry a little bucket of dirt with me, a 1 gallon bucket or so of fine dirt, and I'll sprinkle a handful over it, maybe just barely cover it, and that's it. I throw some heavy peat moss on it, um, blend it, and walk away.
Huh.
And that it's probably a little bit different from a lot of folks, but it works.
So do you use any kind of pan cover or anything then?
I sure don't. Everything's covered with peat moss. Even on a hard rain, even if that peat moss kind of flows up under there, it's still spongy and soft,
Right.
and never really had a problem doing that. Uh, I just that came about a couple years ago. I was setting some traps on probably the number one property that I have. It's got the most coyotes on it. Catch and caught the most on. Thing was in a hurry. Still had like three I wanted to set, getting close to dark, and I mean I was blowing and going and throwing peat moss down. I thought, I'm just gonna see what I can get away with. What these coyotes will commit, you know. And I just bedded them real fast, threw peat moss real heavy on it, and didn't even blend. Just throw peat moss down and walked away. Come back the next morning, two out of the three traps had coyotes in them.
Huh.
So I thought, okay, you know, and then just kind of went from there. And I thought, if they'll commit to that, throw a little blending in with it, and that's all I do.
That's interesting. That's one thing that really intrigued me after reading Mark Zagger, the way he does his pipe dream set and covering with grass clippings.
Uh huh.
And I've done that off and on over the last couple of years, and it's just it feels really weird because you don't cover. I mean, you can if you look, you can see the outline of the trap. It doesn't feel natural, but
Yeah,
that sucker
that
it'll catch them.
that's true. That's what I do. I throw that heavy. Obviously you've got your trap sitting in a bowl, so it's low or the lowest point out in front of that trap, um, and I'll cover it heavy. It might be half an inch, 3/4 of an inch thick in peat moss. I cover it heavy. So even on a heavy rain, which you got a law, Alabama law, you got to check them every 24 hours anyway.
Right.
So I'm there anyway, and if something's been exposed overnight during the rain, take a little stick, spend about 5 seconds raking your peat moss back over, maybe blend it a little bit more, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about the mud, you know, heavy dirt being on top of them and packing and all. And I don't know, not conventional, but it works.
Hey, that's what matters. So I think we sometimes get more focused on the way we think we should trap rather than paying attention to what the coyotes are paying attention to. They don't read all the books that we read and to learn how to
You
trap.
got
So
that right, bro. You got that right. That's, I'm running and gunning. I don't place pebbles or sticks or anything, trying to get them to put a foot here or there. Man, I set my dirt hole, set my trap. I put two light guides as a V to the outside and go on to the next one and and let it be. If he's interested in what you got, you're gonna catch him.
right.
He's gonna stand there and work it. I don't offset my traps; they're just straight out in front of the hole. Uh, and throw that peat moss on there, blend a little, and go on to the next one.
So when you're running and gunning, you know, rocking and rolling, how many traps are you usually running at a time?
Uh, this year I ran, I think it was 25,
Yeah.
something like that. Uh, Not that many really. One particular farm, I think I had the best farm. I had 10 out on, and it's funny. I've heard you talking about the transient coyotes and the residents,
Yeah.
and I find that interesting too. Actually this year I was trapping what I call the number one property. We've caught between me and the deer hunters that have taken out a few. There's been 30 taken off of that in 1 year.
Wow.
One small farm, and I had got permission to trap a farm um, 3 miles south of there. It was laid out a lot the same, when we scouted it. There was tracks and everything, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, how many can I fit in the back of my truck? I set 14 traps, and in a week I caught one coyote.
Huh.
You talk about coming back home with the tail tucked between your legs. That was a humbling experience.
Shoot, I know
I
that
thought, man,
feeling.
what's going on here? There should be like hundreds of coyotes. in these traps, and it just didn't happen for whatever reason. And I don't know. Maybe all the residents were gone.
Nobody was home.
Like you said on your podcast, man, Papa, that's the high five, but it can also humble you in a hurry.
Yeah, you're right about that. So, how long do you usually leave your once you set up an area? How long do you usually stay before you're moving on to another area?
Uh, but my two best spots, I usually stay about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That pretty well seems to be the max. I'll spend about 7 to 10 days with the loud stuff. Then I'll notice, it tapers off, and then I switch over to the natural stuff, and then boom, usually you'll catch two or three just real quick on that. The ones that wouldn't commit to the loud stuff, or been chased and trapped all season, but the all natural stuff usually they'll commit to that, and then I'll run that for a week or so, and usually get out of there. I did trap one farm the entire month of April uh, this this year, just a couple months ago. That's the longest I've ever trapped anywhere, but it was a real easy, quick check on my way to work. Uh, right off the road. Matter of fact, one of the traps that I set was, just inside the gate, real quick and easy. So I think I ran 5 or 6 there and caught 10 during the month of April on that farm. It had never been trapped before, just one main road running through it. The coyotes were running it, it was a dream basically.
Yeah.
Sat on either side for the wind and let it go, and that worked out pretty good.
So how do you go about getting your properties to trap? Are you these kind of contacts that you already know through living there? Are you knocking on doors?
No, to be honest with you, I get phone calls. Please come help with these coyotes.
Yeah.
I haven't had to knock on a door yet. That's unlike getting permission to deer hunt. That's usually not a problem when it comes to coyotes. Everybody wants those gone.
Right.
I'm not seeing the deer that I would like to, and I'm seeing way too many coyotes. Can you help me out? And just through mutual friends, farmers, they obviously talk amongst themselves, and word starts getting out, and
Yeah.
I just it doesn't take long. You can pretty well bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, do you ever use any drags when you're staking? How do you stake your traps usually?
No, I sure don't. I don't even own a drag. I only use old fingers. I love the wolf fangs with the chain,
Yeah.
and that's that's my that's my thing. I love those. That's pretty well all I use.
And just the factory, whatever chain length comes on the trap.
That's it.
Gotcha.
That's it. That's all I'll use.
How do you how do you dye or how do you treat your traps when you're getting ready before you set them?
I am a huge dye and wax fan.
Yeah.
I've got me a big pot of black walnut gunky soup, and when I get, like I said, I'm different probably maybe than most trappers. I don't want my traps rusting. Um, when it comes to metal, I want it slick, moving fast, everything, going fast. So when I get my traps, I'll boil them in dish liquid, 30 minutes to an hour, and I'll turn right around, put them in my uh, soupy mixture, walnuts, and during deer season, I'm constantly picking up a bag of walnuts here and there, and I just constantly throwing walnuts in, and it's as black as can be, and I'll get it to a simmer and drop those traps in there for, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes. The new ones don't take quite as well as the older ones, but they come out and smelling woodsy, I guess you
Right.
could say, and then I'll clean them up, blow the walnut hulls off of them, and then turn right around and wax them, and they're ready to rock and roll.
How do you get them clean after the season before like getting the wax off of them before you treat them again? Do you worry too much about that?
I don't. Usually by the end of the season, they're pretty clean already.
Right. Ideally,
And
yeah.
but I do pressure wash them. I will take them up to the car wash or use my pressure washer, and give them a good run over. And I honestly, I don't worry about that. I don't spend much time on it at all, and let them set for the season. And I don't, you know, I don't do all my traps at once, dye and wax them. I'll do 8 or 10, here and there, and and use those for a little while, and then do 8 or 10 more. Kind of break it up instead of spending a whole day with it. And but I honestly don't worry about that. And to be honest with you, back during I think April, when I was trapping that farm, I used the same trap. We caught I think 4 coyotes with one trap, and I'd catch it. I keep a little scrub brush with me. It was next to a duck pond there. Run it down there, scrub it really good, the water, get everything best you can. Run back up there and set it, and I think I caught 4 doing that. So not really too worried about that. But at the beginning of the season, obviously kind of get them all good and waxed, and smell free, or give them a good woodsy smell anyway.
Right. So with your remakes, do you remake right there where the trap is? Do you move it outside the catch circle? Do you put it on the edge?
I pretty well always move it. Um, I'll move over 10 feet, 20 feet. Just honestly, I look for the closest good backing.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'll set there, close by. You know, it doesn't take long. If you pick up that they're running a particular trail or a logging road or whatever, they're already going to be running it. So, but I pretty much always move. Sometimes I move just outside the circle, if that's where the good backing is. Um, as soon as I see a coyote in the trap, I'm already looking for the next backing. Where am I going to reset this dude? And but I pretty much always pull them. Most of the time, that time of year, February and March, ground is pretty soft.
Yeah.
You can pull those things up just no time, and move over, and reset.
I've always reset right in the circle, but
Yeah,
just always thinking, and wondering. I've never moved. I usually always have, 2 sets at a location anyway.
yeah,
But
yeah. There's trappers catch them like that all the time.
yeah,
Don't know if there's necessarily a wrong way to do it.
I don't think there is. I don't think there is. Thinking back, I don't know how many coyotes I've caught. I know I've caught more coyotes in remakes of other things.
Yeah,
I don't know how many coyotes I've caught after a coyote remake. That's something I need to be tracking better. That'd be
yeah. Well, the only reason I really do that, to be honest with you, is just for maybe the wariness factor, and you can, still blend it back in. Uh, you know, Obviously most trappers will do that, try and cover it back up. But, if it's like, if you set in some fescue grass, and it's just like totally destroyed, it's almost might take longer to sit there and rebuild it all back in,
right.
and uh, just my way, it's not a right way or wrong way. I'll
Yeah.
yank that thing up and move over and drop another one in, and most of the time I'll blend that catch circle in, that I did pull out of,
Okay.
and try and somewhat cover that up. But a lot of times I don't, still catch them, you know, 20 foot away, 10 yards away, whatever. Uh,
That's when you ask 10 trappers, you're gonna get 10 different answers.
I think you're right.
That's what's
Yep,
interesting about it.
I think you're right.
And like you said, none of them are right. You catch them all kinds of different ways with just how people do
That's
it.
that's right. And if you trap very long, you realize, coyotes are like deer and other animals, even humans. They got different personalities. You know, some more wary than others, hardly worth the set no matter what you do, and some trip over themselves getting caught in your
Yeah.
trap.
Yeah.
Trying to. Uh, that's another fun part of running trail cameras on traps, is kind of watching them, and seeing. And part of the challenge to me, part of the fun, you get one that's obviously an older coyote that's a little more wary. He kind of lays back, and you're not going to work that. More of a challenge to go one on one with that particular animal,
Yeah, for sure.
work and work until you finally get the right combination and catch him.
So on Instagram, is your profile private or public?
It's public.
Okay, I couldn't. I'm not sure. If you follow and get accepted by somebody, I don't know if it still shows you like if it's private or not. So have you? Do you get much interaction, much negativity or anything from folks on
Uh, every now and then, once in a while, yeah. But to be honest with you, there's not that much at all.
there? Yeah.
Um, uh, I'm kind of surprised, to be honest with you, at how little negative attention you get.
Yeah.
A lot of positive, a whole lot of positive. As you do too. I'm sure. Hey, keep up the good work. Save those turkeys, save those deer, save those rabbits.
That's right.
But no, really, to be honest with you, not really that much.
Yeah, it's this past season. It didn't seem outside of the one post that somebody tagged Peat in that blew me up. But outside of that, I didn't really get a whole lot of
Yeah,
crazy activity. So
I had one that tagged PETA uh, on me, and same thing. Other than that, really not that much.
yeah. And you're Steve underscore WRIGHT on Instagram. Steve Wright.
That's it.
Yeah. All
That's
right.
that's right.
And so, and if I recall correctly, because it used to when I was still growing my page and I would get a new follower, I'd go and look at their profile and check them out, and I feel like I recall going to your profile and you had a link to a website, um, with like a I don't remember if it was a book you wrote or am I totally crazy there?
No, that was a friend of mine's website. Uh, not not up anymore, but yeah, that was a good friend of mine. Um, I think it was woods to word
Yeah,
dot
that's
com.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, really good hunting buddy of mine. I was running that website, kind of linking hunting with, you know, God's creation and that type of thing, and
Right.
the connection there, and really good website. Wanted to share that, and uh, that's what that was.
Gotcha. So that's not. He doesn't have that website still up now.
Right. It's not active.
Gotcha. Well, Steve, that kind of hits all the high points that I had outlined. Anything in particular that you want to cover or talk about?
Uh, can't really think of anything. Uh, I'm just impressed with the number of hogs that you're taking.
I have been too. We'll see. I hadn't had any activity. I put some bait out at a new location, uh, Saturday, but hadn't had any activity since then. So about time
I
to
imagine,
move on.
yeah, hell knows it may not be too long.
No, I don't think so. So
That's how you make farmers happy, right
you got that right. You got that right.
there.
Do you have any traps out now? You gonna be running in anytime soon?
I'm actually taking a break right now. I usually do in June. Um, our local Alabama AON. I think y'all have the GON.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, do they do the Coyote Cull contest
Yeah,
this
they
year?
do. They do.
Okay. Well, Alabama, the AON's not doing it this year. So normally during June and July, I'm trying to catch them for that contest, but they're not doing that this year. So right now I'm on a break. I haven't had any out since I think late April. Took the month of May off and running cameras right now around my property. If I was to get one, start doing using a trail real regular or something. Uh, I probably wouldn't be able to take it, and I'd have to get after him.
I
But
can understand that.
but right now, I'm not seeing much activity, and we don't. You know, after 3 years of full time year round trapping here, I mean, I have seen a big difference around here.
Yeah, I
We
would
don't have
imagine.
them in the backyard waking us up at night. They don't bother the watermelons. I'm seeing rabbits by the hundreds and thousands. You know, I mean, the cameras don't lie. You know,
Right.
I just if you stay on it, you know, I've heard you say before, it takes dedication. It takes you got to stay on top of it, but you can make a difference. You know, you can knock a dent in them. I do have a comment every now and then, you know, saying you're wasting your time. You're not going to make a difference. And you take one or two out here and there, yeah, that's true. But if you take one particular area like around, and you stay on it, stay with it, I have definitely seen a difference here around my house, and I'm hoping that it leads to more deer. And we don't have very many turkeys in our county, but hopefully that'll change too one day.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing is if you can keep it consistent and stay, keep some kind of trapping program year after year. Otherwise,
That's
you're not making a whole lot of difference. But if you can keep it going, in the same general area, you can't help but make a difference, in my opinion.
I agree, and I really, I do. I've seen it here. Um, like I said, we don't hear them near as much anymore, and I don't get as many on camera. In February, I guess when they're rutting, in early March, it kind of picks up a little bit around here, and catch a few, you know. But after you stay on them, here at the house anyway, on property, by April, it just nosedives, and and like now, I run cameras year round, and you just not seeing them, where I was when I started trapping. They were constantly getting pictures of them, and so definitely making a difference.
Well, good. Well, Steve, I enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate you jumping on with me.
Well, I appreciate the invite. I enjoy the podcast. Hope you keep them up.
Hey, that's the plan. I like this. Trying to been working on getting a few interviews, more interviews lined up, and that's been exciting for me. Just there's always something to learn, and just
That's right.
like you said. I mean, you do things a little bit differently, and some folks it does sound unconventional or sounds kind of crazy, but man, those are the things that I think from the perspective of being being consistent and trapping the same areas year after year. I almost feel like you have to adjust a little bit, with your everything from your sets to your bait and lure, or you get, if the ones that you don't get, they kind of get used to what you're doing, and can
Yeah,
kind of get educated, and then you're going
I
backwards.
agree. 100%. I agree. One of the what I call the number one farm. One end of it last year was super hot. I mean, wore them out on that end. Did the exact same thing this year, and did not catch a single coyote on that end. Caught them all on the other end. Small farm, not big at all. So, like you said, uh, mix it up and vary it up. I definitely believe you're right. They'll get used to them, and each year I think gets just a little bit tougher maybe.
Yep. Well, I wish you the best of luck if you get any more out this summer, and we'll be looking out for you as the season comes around. See what all you've been catching on Instagram.
Well, I appreciate it. Again, thanks for the invite. Uh, I love talking trapping, and wish you the best of luck with all the hogs in the world.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna lay with them.